And we are here. Ron, it's take two time.
Hey, Tom. Hey, listen, we liked the first one so well.
Yeah. So for those of us joining us here for real on Facebook, we just had a nice little conversation with ourselves for about 10 minutes before we realized we aren't live yet. So, hey, we're back. And this is my name is Aaron Duquette, and this is Ron Hooper. We're with the U.S. Term Limits team here. Wanted to check in with you and give you a quick little update on how we're progressing around the country for our initiative for term limits on Congress. And the way that we're doing this is through the Article 5 convention route to propose an amendment for term limits on Congress. We're under no illusion that Congress is ever going to produce an amendment to propose the term limit itself, at least not without absolutely significant pressure coming from the state legislatures to do that instead. Because if they don't have a seat at the table, then they're done for. And I can tell you the states will do it. So that is what we're doing here. We're trying to pass a resolution through 34 state legislatures and get this passed so that all 50 states can have a seat at the table to draft an amendment for term limits on Congress and then send that back to the states, bypassing Congress to ratify the thing and make this part of the law of the land. So, Ron, tell us a little bit about your progress and how you guys are doing out west.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a big week in Utah this week, and we were just talking a little bit about the pledge team, and I think we hit start on this already, didn't we? So we are broadcasting.
Oh yeah.
All right, good. So we had quite a week in Utah. So we've been working. We have a great state director there, Ian Phillips, and we've had a chance to really exercise some of our voter education programs into Utah. We have a bunch of new pledge signers. What we're finding out is we have this whole new crop of politicians that are starting to come up and disrupt the status quo. And they're early on. They support term limits early on. I think anybody with common sense realizes its time has more than come, and that if we don't do something, we're going to be really in a lot of trouble here, and we see it every day. And so now all of a sudden, this new crop of politicians are seeing the importance of that. They're going on record early with us, and we're able to help in their districts, and we've been able to do that. We really focused in Utah because a lot of interesting things are happening in Utah. Last year, their legislator tried to sneak in a tax bill. The voters got upset about it, put together a tax referendum, and had it repealed. And so you could just see the anger of the voters. And I think we were able to tap into this year in a couple key races for us. We've had trouble getting in through the Senate, even though this highly is supportive in Utah, over 80%, 89% of Republicans, and Utah is densely Republican state, and should have been passed a long time ago. But we keep getting invited to the dance, but no dance, and it's because some of the leadership just won't bring it up for a vote. So we really took a look at that this year. We really focused on a couple races that I think have played themselves out. Chris Wilson, we want to congratulate Chris on winning his primary. We really had a chance to use this particular graph that you see right now to really point out that over 85, in fact, if you take a look at it, there's only 3% of voters that are against term limits. 3%. Those are politicians and bureaucrats, I guarantee you, and lobbyists, very small. And when you take a look at it, there's over almost 90% of the voters said they are more likely to vote for a politician that is committed to term limits than not. And we really were successful in Utah with that. We want to again thank Chris Wilson. He's a old Utah family in that district, and he won his primary. Also, Don Johnson, also a senator, won his primary, and we still have one that's not totally called yet, and that is the race between Cunningham and Fillmore. And so Fillmore is leading right now. And then there were 7 of our races in the House where our new pledge signers won their primaries. So we're really starting to see that take an impact in Utah, and we think this might be our year. And again, we want to thank our state director there, Ian Phillips, has been very active and aggressive, speaking truth to power with these senators and let them know that we're not going to take no for an answer. So again, thanks for all the team there. The growth has been outrageous with our social media and with our volunteers there, and we really appreciate it. How's it going in Kentucky there, Aaron?
How is it going in Kentucky? Well, I was kind of jealous of this poll result here. The folks, the approval among the U.S. voters nationwide for term limits on Congress sits at 82% in the most recent poll taken. And for the longest time, I was making a joke because here in Kentucky, that number is 84%. So I used to kind of say that Kentuckians must have 2% more common sense than the average American voter. And looks like Utahns are kicking our butt. So good for them, and we're right behind you. We're making progress. We actually just had Kentucky's primaries were, of course, delayed by a couple months because of the COVID-19 crisis and situation going on there. And so it just was held about a week ago, and took about a week in addition to that to get all the full results for what happened here. We did it really well. It was a good night for term limits. It really showed up well, and actually there's a couple close races that U.S. term limits did some voter education and made sure that people knew who signed the pledge and who had refused to do so, and it made the difference. Just to throw out a few names out there, we had a pledge signer by the name of Matt Lockett that won his primary. Another is Jennifer Decker. And William Lawrence, Josh Bray, Shane Baker, Billy Wesley. Some of these are really close races. Josh Bray won his race against defeated an incumbent, actually, very narrowly, 4,107 to 4,077. So, I mean, real narrow kind of race. And there's another couple that had a similar situation there. On another side of things, we had Paula Clemens Combs, who's a pledge signer that won her race against two others, and Mike Eves, also in a very narrow race, edging that out 51 to 49%. So real good night for U.S. term limits pledge signers. These folks that progressed from their primary elections are joining 17 additional pledge signers who advanced from their uncontested primaries. So we have a total, right? If you add the 17 up with our 8, so now we're at 25 pledge signers going into the November election, and we're going to make a real dent there and have a presence known in Frankfort. So we're pretty excited about this, and happy to see that the cause of term limits is advancing on an extremely nonpartisan line, or I should say bipartisan. It's approximately half and half in terms of Republicans and Democrats that have advanced and done well. I mean, people are just sick of term limits. This is not a partisan issue, it's not a conservative issue, not a progressive issue, nothing. Everyone has a reason for term limits.
Oh, it's just amazing. When we talk to these politicians, we said, hey, look, talk to the next 20 people,
Right.
that just strangers, anybody you talk to. The thing that really impressed me that I saw in Utah is some of these big winners made term limits front and foremost in their campaign.
Yep.
It wasn't something that said, oh, by the way, I support term limits, like you see some of these other old incumbents that say, they just check the box, right?
Right.
And they just kind of follow the policy, whatever it is. But these groups of new politicians put it front and foremost in their campaigns. People ask about it. We got a chance. I'll give Ian credit on this. We got a chance to really get access to the delegates for the state, and we made that part of their platform questions to the politicians as they went out and started to qualify the state legislators. And so we've made that an important question, and I want to call out to Ian and his group for making that happen.
Very good. It's funny, Ron, we're looking at some of the comments coming in from folks, and It comes up every week, and understandably so. And actually, in our first go around private discussion, we went into quite some detail about this. But the question is raised: why don't we get this on the ballot? How do we put this to the voters to decide? And the answer to that is we can't, because we already did, and we did that in the 90s. Try to push for this, and several state legislatures ended up passing term limits legislation, term limiting their own delegations, and to Congress. That was actually ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court in a 5-4 split decision. In 95, the case is U.S. term limits versus Thornton. And so it's back to square one. All of those advancements took a backseat, and we have to do it by a constitutional amendment. A constitutional amendment, as you know, cannot come by a popular vote. It has to be either A, through Congress themselves. Good luck getting Congress to vote for this in a supermajority that they need, or B, through the state legislatures. Those are the two entities, or collective entity in one case, that have the ability to propose amendments. So that's what we're looking at. What we need, though, in the spirit of that question, is that we need a lot of constituent pressure. We need you guys to help us out by volunteering and reaching out simply to your state legislators and to put pressure on them, saying, hey, I want this resolution here passed, the U.S. term limits resolution, so that we can make this happen. So that's how you can get involved. I'll just say generally, we put out in the comments as well, it's termlimits.com. Check it out there. You'll see the button for volunteering, and there's just a 1,001 ways you can get involved. It's limited by only really your interest and your availability.
And since you're quarantined, you can spend all weekend going through our Article 5 stuff. Just go to our website, and you could spend a whole week there. And then if you have questions, we have those experts around that are just delighted to engage you in a conversation. So, if you have any questions or pushback, then we want to hear from you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, John. Sorry, I was looking at a comment.
That's the other guy with the American flag shirt on.
Yeah. Any other kind of updates from the Western region from you?
Hey, we're getting ready. We've got other primaries coming up. Obviously, Arizona is very active right now. We have 2 volunteer groups that are starting to develop. I want to call out to Dim Levy. He's our state director in Arizona, doing a great job with his group of volunteers. Also, Rand Tanner in California. Now, that's an interesting state. And Rand is, we're glad to have Rand there, because that state really reflects diversity. I want to tell you that when it comes to politics. And Rand is the right guy. So we're having some activity there. We're developing a volunteer base to help us really start to move that along. Same thing in Washington. So again, we're starting to see new potential leadership in Nevada, also Idaho. So, it's one of those things that all of a sudden this is a trendy subject.
Good. That's what we need. I've been kind of joking that term limits business is good, because you have a lot of angry people being forced to stay at home and be angry at Congress. So here we are. Let's put that into action.
That's it.
You guys, reach out, termlimits.com. You'll see the volunteer button. If you are sick of, turning on your Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, whoever it is, and yelling at the TV every night, stop yelling. Well, no, continue yelling, but let's make them heard. Let's actually reach out and make this happen. Get involved. Put the frustration to use. Believe me, I'm frustrated too. And
I want to thank Aaron for stepping in and running the back office and keeping the orchestra tuned up and ready to go and getting into this thing. So thanks for stepping up at the last minute. Our other 2 regional directors are out doing what they do, and Aaron is always good to step up and take that role. So thank you very much.
Hey, and I learned how to hit the play button too, so that worked out in the end, right? All right, everybody. Again, it's termlimits.com. Check out the volunteer button there. We need more of you in Kentucky. If there's anyone out there in Kentucky, I really need you, because we have a knockdown, drag out fight ahead of ourselves, and it's really going to be the people of Kentucky versus the establishment. And I'm going to make it real clear that we are not there to make friends with the folks that are going to get in our way of term limits. Kentuckians want it 84%. we're going to have to show up and show them who the 84% are. So call on a special call of Kentuckians. Let's get this done. So
and we may not be able to celebrate the way Americans like to celebrate on the 4th of July, but I think, you know, we need to stand up and be proud of the country that we live in, and we're so fortunate to be part of. And it's, you know, good and bad. This is a great country. Millions of people are trying to get in.
That's
so,
right.
You know, God bless America, and thanks everybody for your help.
Thanks, everybody.